Hey, so this is a video guide for Six Flags Over Texas. Here I'll be telling you what you should ride and what you should skip. Why am I giving this information? Well, I've been coming here for over 15 years, and I've probably visited this park, 50 times, 25 times? I don't know, it's been a lot. I know this place like the back of my hand. So enough with the formalities, let's go ahead and jump right into this, shall we? Number 1. The first ride is the most boring. The first big roller coaster you're going to see is the Lava Bora, and for some reason it has the longest lines for any ride in the whole park, and it's also the most boring coaster I've ever been on. Honestly, just skip the whole Spain area entirely, there's nothing much interesting here. Number 2. The biggest ride here. The first coaster you'll see past Spain is the Titan, but the pile of wood next was better, but we'll get back to that in a minute. I would love to show you on-ride footage, but I'm not allowed to since the guy standing at that little booth with all the buttons on it says that it's copyright infringement. So for this video that I made for educational purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and sneak my phone in on this little bag here. Alright, we'll just go ahead and sit down and then stick my phone right in here, and yeah, so you're not going to get any footage of me screaming on any of these rides, so sorry. So anyway, on to the ride itself. The Titan is so tall that it actually becomes boring halfway down the first drop. When you first go over the apex, it's really intense, but by the time you're halfway down, you're just bored and ready to move on with the next part of the ride. It's just, honestly, it's too tall. Yeah, it's possible for a coaster to be too tall. I mean, the ride is still fun, but the biggest does not equal the best. Oh, and by the way, Nathan, now the whole world knows that you chickened out on the Titan at the last minute. Number 3. The best ride here. The Texas Giant is the newest roller coaster in the park. Now yes, I know it originally opened in the 1990s, but they pretty much tore the whole thing down and rebuilt it from scratch in 2013. And what's interesting about this ride is that it's the first coaster of its kind. It's called a hybrid coaster, and what this means is that it's a wooden coaster, but it has metal tracks instead of wooden tracks. Now these tracks are made out of I-beams instead of tubular steel rails, which means that this coaster can take more intense and sharp turns. But beware, very obese people are not allowed to ride on this thing. Very large people will just roll out of their seats as if they are one of those water worm toy things from the 90s. I'm sure you've played with one of those before. But don't worry, the seats have computers in them that can detect if you're too large to ride, so safety isn't an issue for this ride. Number 4. It's called Runaway Mountain because you should run away. The Runaway Mine Train has the best looking queue in the entire park. I mean, just look at this. It looks like you're about to enter a real mine. But unfortunately, this is just a carnival coaster hidden under a dark shed. It's very disappointing that Six Flags gave the most elaborate scenery to the cheapest roller coaster in the entire park. It's almost like it's bait and switch, is it? I don't know, I'll let you decide. But the answer is yes. Number 5. The Shockwave. Now this is a nice coaster for its age, considering that it was built in the 1970s. Now what's amazing about this ride is that it almost gives you 6 G's of downward force. This coaster held the world record for most G-forces on a roller coaster for around 20 years. The reason this thing has so much G's is because it has a loop directly after a very tall drop. No other coaster does anything like this. But after the first double loop, this ride gets pretty simple. I mean, it was built in the 1970s after all. Oh, and fun fact, when this ride opened, it was the tallest roller coaster in the world. Coasters have progressed really far in just 25 years. Number 6. The Tower of Power. The Superman is the most intense non-roller coaster ride in the entire park. I recommend just going on this and skipping the Skyscreamer entirely, even though the Skyscreamer is a much newer ride. Now what makes this ride so intense is the fact they have nothing under your feet, and it feels like this thing is going to slam you right into the ground. It's very intense, I love it. Number 7. The most historical coaster here is a lie. Next up after the Superman Tower is the Runaway Mine Train. Six Flags will love to tell you that this is the world's first tubular steel roller coaster, but they're lying to you. The Matterhorn at Disneyland was the first tubular steel coaster, and it was built 5 years earlier than the Mine Train. Honestly, I don't know why Six Flags keeps saying this, and I'm surprised they haven't been caught for lying. They've been doing this for a very long time, don't be fooled. Number 8. Mr. Freeze. This one's great. It shoots you out backwards with magnets. It goes from about 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Now this style of reverse magnetic launch is very rare, so you should definitely check this one out. Now this ride looks like it'll give you some nice 0G airtime, but unfortunately you're not going to get any of it, because you see this ride kind of cheats in a way. Normally a roller coaster is pushed up one hill and then gravity does the rest, but not this ride. If you look along the track here, you can see these big blocks of magnets, and these magnets pull up the car and push it back down. That's how this ride cheats. And this is also how you won't feel any 0G, because it's pushing and pulling you. There's no airtime at all on this thing. But with that in mind, this is a very good coaster. You should definitely go on this. Number 9. Batman, the Beginner's Coaster. This coaster is rather small and slow, but what makes it good is that it whips you around and does lots of loops and corkscrews. This is the best coaster for trying to drag your scaredy cat friend onto a real roller coaster because of how short it looks. But other than that, there's not much to say here. It's just a nice, small, compact coaster that anybody can go on. Number 10. Judge Roy Screamed in Pain. The Judge Roy Scream is the only real wooden coaster in the park, and it's absolute trash. This ride is rougher than being in a car fender bender. Trust me, I know. Absolutely avoid this ride at all costs. It's not worth it even if there's no line at all. I guess this ride is here only because it's some sort of roller coaster heritage site or something like that. I'd like to know more, but the sun wouldn't let me read the plaque. Number 11. The Flat Rides. Now there are more rides at this park that I haven't covered, but they're all very simple and don't need an explanation. The swingy thing swings, the spinny thing spins. There's not much to say for these kinds of rides. If the ride looks fun to you, go ahead and get on it. I've already told you all the rides you need to avoid, so you don't need to worry about being disappointed by anything else. Number 12. Pandemonium. This is the perfect coaster if you have little kids or little people with you. The required ride height is very low for something that looks this intense. It's not an extreme ride, but it's really fun, and it's a great way to end your stay at Six Flags because the next thing up is the exit. Alright, so that's my little guide of Six Flags Over Texas. So a quick recap here is your must-ride rides are the Titan, the Texas Giant, Superman, and Mr. Freeze. Now the rides that you should go on if you have time in your day are the Shockwave, Batman, Pandemonium, and the Mine Train. And lastly, the 2 rides I should absolutely avoid at all costs are the Lava Bora and the Judge Roy Scream. I cannot stress enough how much you should not go on these rides. They will disappoint you, I guarantee it. If you have any questions about Six Flags Over Texas, go ahead and leave a comment below the like button. I'll respond to it. Alright, thanks.